I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams.
What is the path to awakening supposed to look like? To feel like? How do you know if you are on it? We ask these very sacred and sometimes vulnerable questions to many different women from all walks of life. A conversation that needs to be shared and heard. I'm Jo Hendy.
I'm Amanda Parker.
And welcome to the Girl Awakening podcast. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, good morning.
Happy Wednesday.
Yes, we are having a bit of a special day today. It's blessed in lots of ways.
Absolutely, yes. For all of our regular listeners, it's going to be a shock when you get to hear this person's voice.
Yes.
Because it may be a little deeper than you're used to. But we are so excited. This beautiful man has come through another one of our wonderful guests.
Yes.
We love the power of connection and
alignment.
Yeah.
And
absolutely perfect.
what that opens up. It's already feeling a bit magical. So we're going to dive straight in because the energy is running beautifully and there's a lot to talk about.
There is. Let's get moving.
Yeah. So I'm going to welcome our next guest, who is Scott Robinson, aka the Brain Guy. Scott is a senior lecturer with the Academy of Applied Movement, Neurology and works directly to achieve balance in the governing systems of the body, optimizing nervous system communication as well as upgrading the subconscious programs.
The nervous system, we've been talking about that this morning.
Yeah, to meet with the requirements of your very best life. Working with you wherever you happen to be in life, wherever you need to, improve on high performance quickly and easily, to transform stress, resolve trauma, pain or dysfunction, or possibly just receive a general upgrade to your experience of life. That sounds pretty
divine.
Good. Scott opens awareness to the brain and nervous system, controlling your life's outcomes. Scott works directly with your neurology, your subconscious mind, which accounts for 95% of total brain processing, and so much more to affect profound change. Welcome, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to get to be here, and I'm so excited to get to be here with you in this sacred space. And I'll say to all the listeners, yes, my voice may appear or sound a little bit deeper than perhaps the typical, the average guest, but I come highly recommended by a female. So trust me, I promise to honor the sacred space.
Yeah, we've already accepted that you have a divine feminine. Simply by nature of wishing to venture into this space with us all and bring your gift of awakening and awareness and what it is that you do in the world.
Well, let's start with that. The where you recognize, let's start here because it's pretty deep, and then we can come back up to kind of perhaps we come back to somewhere a little bit more shallow to kind of go from there. But it's something that's always been really resonant in me since I was a little kid, and it's just truth. I couldn't have articulated it as a little kid. I wouldn't have been able to describe it, tell you about it, but there was just a lot of things to me about the world that just didn't make sense. And I was always raised as a child to, subordinate to authority, don't question adults, you say please, thank you. You are not to argue with, and certainly in my childhood, we were taught we're not allowed to say no to the parents for anything. So I was raised very much to just, go with, just allow, just agree, nod and smile. But there were just so many moments through my childhood I can remember just so clearly, adults expressing what the world is and, being in Sunday school and hearing the minister talk about things and just sitting there going, I don't think that's right. There's something there that's just not, I can't get on board with that. Sorry. I know, I have a knowing that's not right. And so when you say the divine, there's an awareness of, I'm in touch with divine feminine and everything, have the awareness, because it's something that I always want to offer. And it's interesting. I guess throughout my lifetime, I kind of just always had a lot of female friends and ran in those crowds and everything. And it just fit. It was just easy. It was just really easy to just mesh and be a part of that. But really, what if you pause for a moment and recognize, okay, in humanity, in the physical, we've got male and female, we've got these kind of two sides to the coin. You've got duality, and in duality, there's an opposite to everything. It appears to be an opposite to absolutely everything. But in spirituality, well, there's just spirit. There's just oneness. There's just oneness. And the word, we have our words, we use our words and they mean something to us. We say, well, there's a him and there's a her, there's a man and there's a female, and those words really mean something. And so it doesn't feel right when you look at spiritual text and it's all he, him, this, himself, that it's all that. And you're there going, well, the other half of us is saying, well, hang on, where's the me? Where am I representing that? There's a divine masculine, there's got to be a divine feminine. But what if that word he is just the word for oneness? That's just the word for just one. And then because we've gone and split it and divided into two parts, we go, well, hang on, well, half of us is that one. So that's now excluding the other. We've got to have another word for that. And what if you just divine? What if you just divine and you just express that truly? Well, whatever side of that coin that you find yourself on, you're going to recognize it. You're going to recognize it and you'll come into harm. You go, oh, that fits, that agrees with me. Yes, okay, I can get on board with that. Whereas perhaps if you separate and say, well, I'm the divine feminine and, like you're the divine masculine, which means you're the kind of the missing pieces that make up the whole. And when you do that, you just stay stuck in something that's not entirely whole. And I'm not here to tell you that what I'm doing is right, what you're doing is right. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no judgment whatsoever. But if we just allow and go with, then whatever it is that's actually true, we can accept and we can have. And so if we just allow that, okay, you know what? Whatever true wholeness is, whatever that's actually truly perfect, I'm willing to go with that. If we call it divine masculine, if we call it divine feminine, if we just call it divine, you know what? Whatever it is, I'm in. I'll just go with and I'll allow. And then we can have whatever the actual truth of divinity is, we can actually have. And so I'm grateful for your recognition of that today. Like I'm grateful to sort of have that right from the first moments of conversation, to have that recognition, and yeah, excited to just dive in and see where this wants to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I think also there's a lot of confusion around what those two things mean, like the divine feminine and I think a lot of people think that it is this duality or this this battle, but it's the understanding of it's in all of it is in all of us, like the whole part, is in all of us. And we're learning more about that, the subtleties of the feminine and the masculine in both, having both inside of us. So that for our listeners, when we talk about that, there's no one side better than the other or any of that. That's we're dropping that. That's dropping away from us, as we know through this beautiful evolution that we're on right now. All of that, the duality is dropping away, and we are becoming more open to the oneness.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's a beautiful awareness. As I said, it feels really right. It's wonderful to get to share, because no doubt there will be people like you guys sound like you're in acceptance of what is, which is beautiful. But sometimes it's really lovely to just articulate, because you will have people in humanity who've kind of identified with one camp or the other.
Yeah.
And if you kind of recognize that, oh, I don't have to choose a side.
Yeah.
Oh, I could just have the benefits of all. All right, well, that'd probably work out pretty well for me. I could do that by making no decisions. I could just decide nothing. I could say, you know what, I am the perfection of whatever this is. And then you will express it in your own unique way. And, as in a male body, you'll express it a certain way, and in a female body, you may express it a slightly different way. But it's your unique individual essence that's what's being expressed. And you want to do that uniquely, individually, and perfectly your way.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
I want to bring it back to you, and you've already touched a little bit on this.
Yeah.
But for our podcast and what it's about, how did your awakening begin, Scott?
Ooh,
Yeah.
good question. So, the story of me, I always tell is I was an athlete who, lived a life as an athlete, full-time athlete, absolutely loved it, got to travel the world, got to represent, it was an amazing, amazing life. And it was, that was largely from the parents that I'd chosen. Everybody in my family had represented their country at something. And it was just, sport was a huge part of life. And that in itself is amazing, because now where I find myself at the other end of at a different stage in the journey, there's a very, very different awareness around, because sport is so dualistic. It's, it's win or lose. It's me against you, and it's competition to see who's better. And I found that, again, at later stages of my awakening, my awareness, I found that very, very difficult to understand because it was something that I loved, but then I was having this awareness of, hang on, but if there's no duality, there's only oneness, and that's how you get what's perfect, and that's how you get everything that you want, get your highest version of self and everything you're looking for in life. Oh, how do I reconcile this thing that I've always loved, which is so dualistic and so competitive with this new truth? And I've been given the vehicle for that with one of my kids who's a little athlete, and just getting to give him that journey kind of in a much more true sense, and he's doing amazing things with it. But so for me, I was an athlete. That was my life. And then when I finished being an athlete, I realized I'd worked on this level of dedication for years. And I just remember the night that I retired, I remember thinking, well, you're not going to just throw that away. Like, you've spent years developing this dedication. Like, you better put it into something. And so I'd already started doing a little bit of personal training. So I became a personal trainer, and then just applied that dedication there and tried to be the very, very best that I could be. And again, in that same competitive mindset, I'm trying to make sure I'm the best guy in the gym, best trainer in the gym, wherever I was at. And then that sort of morphed itself into rehabilitation, because I worked out that, well, it's, to me, I perceived that I was more helpful if I was helping to fix problems, if I was solving movement dysfunction, if I could resolve pain, if I could make people stronger in ways and train them in ways that, they hadn't done previously before. That seemed more valuable. And then that opened the awareness of brain. I stumbled into brain because it's like, I recognized, well, I'm trying to change all of these movement dysfunctions, and I'm dealing with people who don't have the same level of dedication that I've got. They're not willing to go away and do 2 hours of training each day, morning and afternoon, or perhaps do a third one at lunchtime if they can squeeze it in. Like, they'll just come and see me once a week and then go home and hope that it's all better. Without that level of dedication, I'm really not making the dent. I'm not having the impact that I would like to have. So I was looking for something more. I was looking for, how do we do this? And I stumbled onto brain, and it just became really apparent really quickly that to all of these long-term movement dysfunctions, to all these patterns that you see in the body, there's a control system, there's a computer, there's a motherboard of all these switches, and it's holding these patterns, that it's maintaining these physical dysfunctions and these presentations of pain and presentations of sickness, holding all those things in place. And what I had been doing was trying to move an arm or a leg, trying to move something in the distal, the periphery, to try and force a result by repetition. If I could just get the arm or the leg to move a certain way enough times, hopefully they'd just get it right, and the pain, the tightness, the tension would go away. And I found that was really slow, really hard, and not all that effective. And when I stumbled into the awareness of brain, it was like, wow, so there's literally a motherboard of switches. And when I learn the switches, I can just flick this one, flick that one, and the movement dysfunction just changes. It's like, wow, that's mind blowing. It's just, and it was day one. It was day one going to work with this new awareness, and straight away just solved, like literally in 15 minutes, solved 2 long-term movement dysfunctions, like painful presentations that I've been hammering away at for the last 2.5 years. And these things were just gone in seconds. And I was like, okay, wow, I need to dive in. And I was really fortunate that the paradigm that I was learning in were very, very open-minded. And they just said, look, nobody knows anything about the brain. Our whole society is really open to admit that there's so much more about the brain that we don't know than what we do know. So they said every paradigm has its own institutional imperatives. We want to have none. We want an institutional imperative basically states that, right, our whole paradigm, our whole understanding of how we help is based on this assumption and this assumption and this assumption. And those assumptions have to be true. Otherwise our paradigm doesn't work. And so they were saying, we want to have as few of those as possible, hopefully none. So they just said, the lecturer said to myself and one other guy, he just said, look, you two guys really seem to get it. It's not going to be long. You're going to be creating your own applications. You're going to be diving in and discovering things. If you can find some new things that work, bring it back. You don't have to make what you find fit our system. Wow. If you find things that work, we want to understand it and we want to evolve the system. Right. And I was like, okay, great. Let's do that. And then I was just free. And so it just opened up this rabbit hole. And when you dive into that rabbit hole, there's no bottom, there's no end to it. And you dive in, and it's like you're going through all these layers of physiology, and you're just learning more and more and more. And it's incredibly complex and it's amazing, but you feel like you come out the other side and there's this light of spirit. And it's like, it's hit you in the face with a sledgehammer, kind of obvious. Like, you just can't deny it. It's so obvious and it's so in your face. And when you are driven by, I just want the best result. I really don't care how it comes. I don't care what it looks like. I just want the best result for you. when it becomes really, really obvious that the best result you're going to get is just going to that truth that exists at the core of every one of us, well, it's like, okay, well, let's just do that. I'm willing to drop everything I think I know about it, and let's just go. And then, funnily enough, all my results continue to get better and better. I was able to help in more profound ways and faster. And that really led me to this kind of path of awakening. I was like, okay, I need to explore this spirit thing. And I'd really gone away from that. I'd gone so far away from that and tried to go right down this path of science that I was so far removed from it. And the funny story for me is that I kind of thought, okay, I'm having an awareness of these things called chakras. Never really paid any attention to them, didn't know much about them, but I'm having an awareness of these things called chakras, and I'm learning about them. Who knows about those? All I knew at the time was like, I think Reiki deals with chakras. Like, you know what? I'm going to go book a Reiki session. Let's just go do that. And I went there, and this beautiful lady, and again, it was intuitive awareness that kind of guided me to this particular person. But I turned up at the door, and the first thing that this beautiful lady did was she just had this incredible emotional reaction of going, I don't know if I can, you're something way up here and I'm down here and I don't know if I can actually help you. And she just went into this huge, she's seeing something. And I just felt this overwhelming calm of, you have something that I need and this is all perfect. There's something, there's a role that you're here to fulfill. And it was an awareness that was beyond my current, my then level of, call it spiritual maturity, say. It was just an awareness of calm. And it was like, okay, I just need to sit and just give this calm. And this woman took me through all these different layers, and she unfolded all this past life stuff and things about, my purpose in this lifetime. But out of that came this great awakening where I had these mystical experiences, things that people talk about when they're having lucid dreams and going out of body or just things happening. And all of that happened like bang at once. And it was so exciting and so amazing that I kind of chased it for a while because I thought this mystical stuff is amazing. It's incredible. But it wasn't the path that wanted to unfold for me. It was just wanted to wake me up. Yeah. It just was these experiences to say like, mate, there's more and you're here to do something and you need to get busy. It's time to get on with it. And it's like, okay, I can't now go back past that point. I can't unsee what I've just seen. Okay, let's go. How do we go from there? And then that kind of changed everything. It's just like, okay, there's more available. You're more powerful. You're here to do something. The universe is working for you. Everything's perfect. How do we flow with that? I don't need to force it. How do we flow with that? And then everything's really unfolded from there.
Yeah, that's what an incredible, so when you described that moment where you had the open platform within your workspace to go, okay, reducing paradigms, like no limitations there, like which we would say like no limiting beliefs basically to contain the expansion process, and then following what you described as your intuition to this Reiki practitioner. Were you aware at the time that it was your intuition that led you to her, or did it just seem like, because it's in hindsight you go, oh, okay, this is an innate gift that I've actually been operating with for quite some time, but I wouldn't have called it that until I got to a certain point of awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wouldn't have called it intuition or an intuitive process at the time because, again, my mind was far more aligned with science and, right, there's a structure, there's mechanisms to this. So what I had learned through that paradigm, applied movement neurology, which is what I learned, was I'd learned about bioelectricity, and bioelectricity underpins everything in the nervous system, and there's a profile. You can get all the information of everything through those bioelectric signals. And you can interact with that via touch, and you can also interact with that via intention. But thought changes physiology on a moment-to-moment basis. You don't have to even feel an emotion. You don't have to even, you don't have to go have any kind of emotional experience. You don't have to mean it in the words when you say them, but your mind understands the words that you say. So if you say something positive, you don't even have to be feeling it. You're not even trying to generate an emotion, but your physiology in that instant is responding, and it's becoming stronger and it's becoming more supple. And if you say something negative, and again, you don't even have to be meaning the negative or feeling the negative, you're just saying a word that holds a negative connotation in your mind, your physiology will in that instant become weaker and tighter. And that's happening throughout all systems in the body. It's just easier to see in the neuromuscular system. So what I learned through applied movement neurology is that we can actually use muscle testing, or we can use range of movement testing, and you can get a global response. You can have a very accurate global response feedback through your body or through the body of the person that you're working with. So I learned that system And it was through that system that I was just testing in and saying, okay, well, there's an intelligence to the body. There's an intelligence that's kind of telling me it knows what's right and knows where I'm meant to go. And I wasn't seeing that as an intuitive process of any kind. To me, it was like, no, there's an explanation for that. I can recognize that's a scientific process. I can recognize that, and it's giving me the awareness that I'm meant to go in that direction. So I went there, but I guess it's through that whole process that intuition unfolded into something so much more. And then you're given such a greater depth of information because you're no longer blocking it by deciding what the information is. You're simply allowing the information to be whatever it is, and then you get more.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is
Yes.
so spot on, because our the next question that we always ask, once you have this awareness now of I mean, there's a lot of body awareness going on for you, a lot of mind awareness, but what kind of thoughts were you having now around the world? Because we know a lot of people start to see, we go within and we start to have these awakenings, but then we start to look outside and go, oh, holy shit, what's been going on the planet, or what's been going on in the world? What were you waking up to as well outside of you?
So I was waking up to, let's look at it kind of on two fronts. Because at the time I would have said, like, I'm waking up to something in the inner world and I'm waking up to something in the outer world, right? And in truth, there's only one. But at the time I was seeing them as kind of separate. So at the time I was waking up to something in the inner world and saying, like, okay, this is feeling like a calling. It's a truth of who I am. This is like who I've been meant to be. There's something I'm meant to do. And I'm, and again, that all came through in its own layers of awareness through the Reiki practitioner, the things that she found through these, past life healings, past life wounds, and different things that she found from this life as well. And it all fit, it all resonated. So I was hearing this calling to what I am here to do in the world, but then also I was having greater awareness in the work that I was doing. So I was understanding more, which means I had greater intuitive capacity, and I developed some different applications, one of which in particular is called Neuro Flexibility. And so Neuro Flexibility was just a way, if you try and stretch, if you tell people, right, you need to go and stretch because you're really tight, most people will immediately get a thought of like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's going to be hurt. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. I don't want to do that. And I had spent a lot of years when I was in my sport, I had a flexibility coach. And I always said, I learned more about pain with that man than I did of anything else I ever did. And again, when I did stretching with clients, I had a number of, female clients. I did a lot of pre and postnatal work, and not in the pre and postnatal work, but with the mums that I've been working with. So many of them would say, like, mate, childbirth's no worse than that. It's the same thing. It's that same excruciating, agonizing, stretching pain. And and so this guy that taught me about flexibility, what I learned about flexibility was this guy was a retired engineer who had built all of these stretching devices, which made his place look like a medieval torture dungeon, because he had all of these racks and things that he could, and seatbelts and straps and things he could tie you in and lock you in and put you in these really compromising positions and then stretch a limb in a certain way. And it was incredibly effective. It was unbelievably painful. And he applied all of his engineering nous to it. He would even stretch you like crazy, get you right to the point where you feel like you're going to break, and then pack ice bags on you to try and contract the muscles down to make them cool in that position, and then go, right, that's your new resting length. And as I said, I just learned so much about pain and suffering in that when I developed this system, it's like, wait a minute, intuitively, and what I'm seeing and what I'm learning is that it's the brain that's dictating. It's the brain that's sending out the signals, that's telling the muscles what level of tension they need to hold. And we can stretch them, but if you stretch those muscles, well, roughly about 20 minutes after you've stretched them, you'll be back about where you were. And that'll be true for most people. You go to see a chiropractor, go to see a physio, get in your car afterwards and go, oh, I feel amazing. This is great. And then by the time you get out of the car at home, you're pretty much back to where you are at baseline. And what I found is that through this system that I developed, you could press the right buttons, flick all the switches, and the brain would let go, and you get a much greater increase in flexibility, and it wouldn't hurt, it wouldn't be painful, and you wouldn't be associating a painful experience with that new range of movement. And then funnily enough, the brain would let you keep it. It would be much longer lasting. So I was learning these processes and seeing these things. And through that process, the awareness that I came to was I started teaching that course. And so what I noticed when I was teaching people that course is I'm teaching them how to get feedback through the body. And I had seen this online and I'd seen it with different people, but it was so much more obvious to me when I was teaching it to people because I was having to give them the awareness of the resistance that they could potentially meet if they're going to be doing this with their clients. So I'm teaching them, okay, if you touch a body, then whatever's in you is going to equilibrate between those two nervous systems. If that person's really, really stressed and you're just really, really calm, well, you're going to give them a level of their calm and they're going to come down, and that will it'll make them a whole lot easier to stretch. If you've had 6 coffees and you go put your hands on them to stretch them, that's going to tighten them up and it's going to make it more difficult for you to stretch them. But then I'm having to teach them new levels of awareness of saying, like, you can actually do this via distance. You don't actually need to be touching each other. Yes, you can do it through touch, but you can do it through intention. You're that powerful. And the thing that I was having to teach people, and this is the awareness in the world, is that when you shift the awareness of the world, so the nervous system at that lower level of mind, it's just looking for safety. It just wants survival. It just wants to know that you're okay. And when you're in that lower level of mind, you're doing it through decisions and you're doing it through control. You're trying to move the little pieces of the world around to try and just make sure that you're safe. And you will have figured out your own way that you think that you can do that. And then when someone comes along, no matter how helpful they're trying to be, and no matter how much they're trying to up-level you and improve things for you, if someone comes along, like me, and then starts telling you that, hey, this reality thing that you think you knew about, it's not actually like that, it's something different, that can feel really uncomfortable for people, even though it's offering them something so much more. Even though it might be something they were asking for, they start to feel really uncomfortable. And so the first thing that they'll do is recognize, if I can tear that down straight away, because that is threatening my survival, that's threatening, that's threatening my safety. I don't know how to keep myself safe in this reality that you're describing. So I don't know the rules to that. So then the first thing they'll do is either try and tear it down by attacking it aggressively or just ridicule it and try and laugh at it. But if they can dismiss it somehow and collapse that reality and just, get back to the safety of their own, then they'll feel safe again. And so that was the awareness I was coming into. It's like, that's kind of not what we're up against, but that's what most of humanity's in. Most of humanity's in this, right, I'm fearful, so I need to control. I've got my own ideas about how I do that, and I need to block out some of these other ideas. And if I have resistance, I can keep myself safe. I've got stress, I've got sickness, I've got dysfunction, I've got pain, but I know what to do with that. And so then they'll commit and stay. And so that's the resistance that you're dealing with. So I was having this awakening to truth of self and purpose, and also having the awareness of like, that's what we need to dissolve, what we're going to need to overcome in others.
Because I am a holistic practitioner as well, and I know over my years of working with people, it's always a co-creative space. Like, you're guiding the person that you're working with, and they're guiding you as well. So I'm hearing a lot of self-reflection as well, and what you're sharing with your awakening and the awareness space. Were you consciously registering that in your own shifts within your body and your mind and spirit spaces, along as you've been working through this space of developing your courses and developing how you're facilitating your clients?
Yeah, I would say it came over time. I think the awareness was always there. Like, knowledge is known, it's in you, it's in you forever. You just might not have conscious awareness of it. You might not have shed that conscious light of truth on it so that you've seen it just yet, but it's always there. It's like what I was saying as a little boy, like, I had an awareness that there's something more. There's something more. It's something beyond. It's something different to what everyone's telling me the world is and the way that it really wants to work. It's something different. I don't know how to articulate that. I don't really get it. I don't see it. I just know that's not right. But then as you allow yourself to kind of walk down that path, it unfolds and you start to see more of it. You begin to have conscious awareness of it. And it's like, so if I explain it two ways, the way that I explain this to people when we're doing kind of one-to-one healing or teaching courses now, I always say, for you to get where you want to get to, and where you want to get to is your true self. Like, your true self, who you truly are, is perfect. You're limitless, you're infinite, you're eternal, you're perfect. That perfection is always joyous, always peaceful, it is love, it's abundance, and it's free. And it can't change. Spirit doesn't change. It's an eternally changeless condition of being. It doesn't matter if you're in a traumatic experience or a stressful experience or an emotional reaction. That eternal true self is changeless. It's always there. And there's a way for you to connect with it. There's a way for you to have it. Even in those lowest of moments, there's a way for you to connect with it. You would need to be willing. You would need to actually allow yourself to do that. And a lot of times people aren't, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. You just want to commit to the sadness. But you can recognize that because it's eternal, if it's eternal, well, eternity is all time. So that's every moment of past, present, future. But eternity is also oneness. Eternity is everything in space. So everywhere you happen to be, that eternal true self must be available. It's got to be available in every moment of space and in every moment of time and every aspect of space. So it's available always. So for me, there's an awareness that was always there, but I couldn't have articulated until a certain point of awareness. The awareness was or is that no one gets into heaven alone. Like, that's the deal. No one gets into heaven alone, right? Like, nobody gets to that higher state of being without bringing those around you with you, because the whole idea is to come back to unity, come back to oneness. So you don't just get to go, right, I'm going to do my inner work, I'm going to self-heal, and you know what, I feel like I've done a great job, so you know what, my work is done, guys, I'll be off. You know, good luck with the rest of the suffering you guys are in, but I'll be off. It's kind of not the way that it works. So no one gets into heaven alone. For me, I didn't have that full awareness. It was, and once I started working with brain, nervous system, starting to understand this limitlessness that's available within you, and the limitlessness of spirit that is available the deeper that you go into it, well, all of that gives you everything that you want. Takes you to your true self, which is your best self. It's highest version of you, the one who lives your very, very, very best life, which most people will say, like, yeah, if that was available, I'd take it. Yeah, I'm in. Well, that highest version of self is beyond comprehension. Yeah. You can't understand it. It exists at a level of mind that is beyond what you can comprehend. But if you look at what the world does, all of the world's processes are all about, no, I have to figure this out. It's me that's got to figure this out, and I've got to be involved, and I'm going to need my decisions, or I could hire someone who's a bit smarter and they'll be able to do it. But it's beyond comprehension. So you fundamentally cannot intellectually understand your way to a place that's beyond comprehension. So as I was doing this work with people, it's just bringing people to the awareness of there's none of your understanding that is going to be valuable. And in fact, if you try and understand something that cannot be understood, well, that's you committing to block yourself. So just giving people that awareness was then opening people up to this more limitless understanding, which can come. And this is the thing, this is what true healing is, that you cannot intellectually understand your way to this place that's beyond comprehension, but you can just go there. You can just go straight there. True healing is transcendence. You can go straight there. So you can't intellectually understand your way there, but you can just go there, and then you'll understand. And so that's the thing. So when you do that, you get to this point where you get to understand, and now you're living in it. You're living in the peace, living in the joy, living in the freedom, and you've got it. Now you have the chance to see it because you're in it, and now you're learning it because learning's experiential. You're learning it in your life, and then at some point you go, oh, I get it. Oh, okay. Now I understand how I've been so peaceful. I've had this love thing going on for so long. Right, I get it. So that awareness for me, no one gets into heaven alone. It was always there. I couldn't have understood it. I couldn't have articulated it. I didn't know what it was. But by sharing this, no, hey, there's no need to understand. I just allowed myself to be in that, in that unfoldment. And then, funnily enough, all of those awakenings come, and you have the awareness. And now I have conscious awareness of it, and I can talk about it and explain it.
So many questions. So many
Talked
questions.
about it so powerfully, and so much resonance, and
that's a lot of
you
information.
can tell that you're really good at finding those little buttons.
Yeah, I so many things were coming up for me
so
listening
many.
to you talk then, because right in on track in the moment. But I was thinking about when you said the joy, the love, all of that. It's like we get to the place and we have moments. I mean, personally, I've been in moments where I've cried because it's almost been unbelievable, like synchronicities that are happening, or these moments of pure joy over nothing, no thing,
Nothing.
and being in so much love and graciousness for it that you can only cry, and then in the next moment going looking over your shoulder waiting for someone to take it away or something to take it away. Because of the programming we've been in. And I think that leads back to the whole brain thing that you've been talking about, is we're so littered with programs and processes and belief systems in here that we have to walk back through those to unhook ourselves, to be able to have the full embrace of that joy, that love, that knowing, that knowingness. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So we have that. Just ask the question. Just contemplate for a moment. What if there were no decisions in my mind?
Oh, that would be so wonderful.
What if there were no decisions? because I just had this beautiful, I'm crying tears of joy. I've just had this beautiful experience. I've had all this beauty. The way I experience for me is I just experience is like, I just wake up and I feel this unbridled enthusiasm for life. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm so pumped about today.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't wait for it. I'm already in it and I can't wait for it. And it's just like, some people might call it a level of bliss. Some people might just call it a higher level of light, whatever it is. I don't need to give it a decision. I don't need to give it a label. But what if there were no decisions in your mind? If you were in that, you could just stay in that. You'd just be there, right? Like, there's no decisions. But everything you've learned in humanity, everything you've learned in that belief system of the world is like, well, no, I need to make decisions because like I live in decisions. So a gentle decision, what seems like a gentle decision is like, I should know what this is because I would need to know like what's brought it and what's given it to me. I would have to have that information if I'm going to keep it, because if I don't know what it is, then how would it stay? How would I replicate it? Oh, right. And then as soon as you can't find a reason for it, or if you do find a reason and you've just made it up and it's never the true reason, it's just what you've made up based on that data bank of memory and experience, like what you think you can understand of it, which is not the real thing. It's just your version of that thing. Hardest lesson you ever learn. Only truth is true. So only the truth of that feeling that just made you cry, made you feel like life is amazing. Only the truth of that is what that feeling is, right? Your idea of it or what you can articulate of it is just your version of it. And that's not true. That's something else. So then you've made a decision. Now you've committed to a decision, and decisions are continuous. Once you make a decision, it's now like a rule. It's in that framework of understanding in your mind, and you've committed to it. If you can't find a good reason for it and you're thinking, this has come from nowhere, it's come from nowhere, that means, well, it's come from nothing. So it could go again in an instant, or someone could take it away. That's been my past experience. These things get taken away. Oh, now I'm fearing, when does it take away? A classic one for people is they will literally find the peace, find the joy, find all that. They're in that tearful, that teary gratitude, and life is amazing. They go, oh, this is everything I wanted. I can feel it. I've got the peace. I've got the joy. But what if I'm wrong? I mean, I've got it, but what if it's not true? I mean, I'm feeling it. I've got it, but what if it's not true? Oh my God, it might not be true. Oh, it's like, but the number of people that just literally by their own design, without realizing they're doing it, just throw it away. And there's a beautiful law of mind that it speaks to your own power, and you really want to embrace it. And when you're in an experience of life that is something other than what you want, it feels like you're being scolded or told that the lower level of mind, the ego wants to interpret offense to it, but there's no offense. It speaks to your own empowerment. And this law of mind is that in life, you only get what you want. You only get what you want. Like, everything you perceive is everything that you experience. Everything you're experiencing is your perception, right? Everything you perceive is what you experience. What you experience is what you perceive. But perception is projection. It's a projection of your belief, because perception is made by belief. But then you experience the perception out there. So it's your belief projected out. You're just experiencing the reflection of what you believe. But you're never going to believe what you don't want to believe. You only believe what you want.
Yeah.
So you are experiencing at a deep level your desires. You're experiencing what you desire. If it's wonderful and happy, then hey, like, high five, hit the showers. It's just letting you know how much joy you've let in. That's wonderful. If it's something else, it's letting you know that, hey, there's still some healing. Like, there's some dark desires in there that they don't match with what you consciously want. So when we say you only perceive what you believe, you only believe what you want, and that's what you're getting, we're almost never talking about your conscious desires, because of course you don't want the sadness, you don't want the pain, you don't want the sickness, you don't want those things consciously, but your conscious mind is this much. So you're not aware of what's in the unconscious mind, which is so much more. And if there's a conflict between what you want consciously and what you want unconsciously, any conflict between conscious and unconscious, the unconscious always wins. It's so much greater. It's just so much more.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot, actually, around the story, the identity, and your identity in the story. And there's a lot of people that actually find it or struggle with letting go of the story and the identity of them in the story, because it's been working for them for so long. So what we're talking about, it runs deep, and it's it's a work. It's the work, and the way you're talking, and we're understanding, and it's becoming easier because we're have awareness of what's on the other side of that. But there's still a lot of people that are stuck in the story, and this this victim process that's been playing out on the planet, you know, where people are really caught in this victim playing because it's worked for them, you know. So yes, we're talking about this beautiful process that feels light, and yes, we're understanding what you're saying, and but there are a lot of people out there that are caught in this. Do you want to talk about a little bit about that whole victim mentality?
Yeah, let's get to the truth of the story. Let's do that. So let's get to the truth of the story. And so the way that you go, okay, well, how do we do that? How do we get to the truth of the story? Well, you would need to engage something that doesn't exist in the world, right? You need to engage higher reason. Higher reason tells you what is true, to give you a picture, give you an awareness of what truth is, right? Higher reason is descriptive. So it'll give you a picture of what things would look like if it was all actually true, right? So pause for a second. We recognize, okay, the only aspect of linear time in which we can actually receive truth is now. It's the only time it's available, right? And it's like saying, so eternity is what the truth is that exists beyond perception. So the average human being perceives just this minuscule amount, minuscule fragment of reality. And it's like saying, so on a logarithmic scale, you perceive something like 0.00035% of the visible, of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. That's a minuscule amount. The auditory spectrum, you perceive, again, a similarly minuscule amount. In the sensory scale, you perceive this minuscule amount. The average human being can perceive somewhere in the order of magnitude of about 1/1000th of all the sensory stimuli around them. But the average human being also exists in this thought system of, no, I have to make decisions. Like, I've got to decide what's right and what I do and how everything works. And I do that so I can just make sure I know that I'm safe. But you can be absolutely certain that any decision based on partial information is going to be wrong. You're making decisions based on only a tiny portion of the information. It's going to be wrong. Of course, to you, it's going to feel right because you're basing it on what you perceive, and that's what you make the decision on. So, of course, to you, the perceiver, your decision feels absolutely right. You feel 100% justified in making the decision, and in line with what you've perceived, yeah, it looks right. But relative to what's actually true in the universe, 100% of the time it's going to be wrong. So when you recognize that, you say, okay, well then, if my decisions actually make and unfold the reality that I find myself in, which is what they do, they become the framework, the determinants of the reality, and the process I'm using means 100% of my decisions are going to be wrong. Well, those wrong decisions are going to unfold my reality. And you would look and go, that doesn't feel like a harmonious process. I don't know if that's actually helping me. I could surely only hurt myself with that approach. So it then becomes easy to let go and say, okay, let's look at something else. So if we look at higher reason speaks to that which is true in eternity. So right now, the only aspect of linear time that has any connection to eternity is now. The past itself is an illusion. The future is an illusion. We can explain that more deeply if we need to. But right now is the only time we could get truth. The only way we could be now is if there's no influence from the past and no influence pulling us to the future. We just have to be truly now. And so if we were in that, then we would have the opportunity, whatever it is that we perceive, we would have the opportunity to receive truth in this moment. And we're not distorting it with anything that we've learned in the past, and we're not distorting it with anything we're fearful about in the future. We just have the opportunity to receive that now. So right now, you have the opportunity to see or perceive all truth. Whether you can, whether you can't, whether you do or don't, doesn't matter. The opportunity is now, right? You then perceive whatever you perceive. And whatever you've perceived, you store that to your data bank of memory and experience. You put that there, and it looks exactly the same there in your memory as it did in the moment when you saw it. It's the same picture, right? So you look at it and go, well, that's obviously true, because look, it's exactly what I saw. But in this moment, and the way that I describe it is, imagine the only way that you can have truth is to have all truth. So the truth is, it can't be divided, it can't be split up. It's a whole, it's a totality, right? So let's just say that the average human being can perceive only 1/1000th of the information. So let's say that to the entire information field, the truth of reality, there's 1 trillion pieces. It's like a 1 trillion piece jigsaw puzzle all jumbled out in front of you, trillion jigsaw pieces. And the average human being can perceive about 1,000 of those. That's 1/1000th of a trillion. It's about 1,000. So, okay, you can perceive 1,000 of those jigsaw puzzles. But then you've got this brain that really doesn't cope very well with leaving things unconstructed. So the brain's going to try and shape it into a picture so that it can know what it is and then make decisions and know that it's safe. But how do you make that picture? Well, you only make it from the things that you know, the things that are already in your data bank of memory experience, the things that make sense to you. So you're the one that gets this very limited amount of information, then you shape it into a picture, and that picture is whatever it is, whether you've done it truly or untruly, it's just your picture of 1,000 pieces. That's what it looks like to you. And then you store those 1,000 pieces in that data bank of memory and experience, right? Now, when you look at those 1,000 pieces in memory, it looks exactly the same as you saw it. But in this moment right now, we've got access to the other 999 million pieces or billion pieces or whatever they are. We've got access to those other 999 billion plus pieces that we could potentially ask and receive truth. When you look back in memory, there's only those 1,000 pieces. You don't have the access of the rest of truth there. It's just those 1,000 pieces. Hardest lesson you ever learn is only truth is true. So if only truth is true, and that's those 1,000 pieces, even if I did it truly, even if I actually didn't distort the 1,000 pieces that I saw, it's still just a fragment. That fragment is not the whole. It's not the totality. It's not truth. So then that would mean that any information that comes from the past would just have to be something other than truth. So if all information that comes from the past is something other than truth, and again, truth is true, only that which is true can be real. If something's real, well, then it exists. If something's not true, well, then it's illusion. It's either truth or illusion. That's all there is. There's no in between. It's either true or it's not. So if it's illusion, well, then it's not real. If it's unreal, it doesn't actually exist. So if we look at that information in the past and say, okay, well, in truth, if the past is not actual truth, no matter how true and real it feels to me, it's something other than real, universal, divine truth, well, that means it's illusion, which means it's nothing. So then that would mean like all stories exist in the past. So then what would be the story? Oh, the story would just be an illusion. It would be an illusion that feels really true to me, something I've identified with, aligned with, given truth, given power to, and I've resonated with, and I've followed it. And if it becomes a narrative, when you say like a victim narrative, well, once it's a narrative, it's not just a program, it's running like a command. Any narrative in the brain, in the mind, is running like a command. It's you telling yourself what's going to happen and telling yourself how you're going to behave and how you're going to perform in certain situations. And it's then just a story that runs not just a program, but a command that's telling you how to act and how to engage. And in truth, it has no power, because no illusion has any power of its own. It's only got the power you've given it, but because you've given it all your power, it appears to be really powerful. And so then it feels like there's something to overturn, but it can be dissolved in an instant. You can dissolve in an instant just by your letting go of the decisions, letting go of the past.
I feel like just listening to you, I've just had a whole
My
house.
brain hurts.
Well, I was going to say feel like I'm listening to Confucius, and I'm grasshopper sitting here, but I'm going to go away and meditate on this. But no, it feels like a whole energetic detox, because it feels like this is the ultimate way to do your internal housekeeping. Like literally sit in this space and go, okay, ponder exactly what you just shared around being truly anchored in this moment, and therefore the past is an illusion. Just let everything else just fall away from you, and you can feel your whole beingness lighten up straight away. So it's when you said around, what if there was no decisions to be made? That is a feeling of lightness straight away.
Yeah.
It's immediately just like it's freedom. This out.
On that too, you just know in your body, because you can feel the density of what's not true. Body will let you know.
Yeah, you will have a resonance. There'll be a remembrance. There'll be a remembrance of truth, and it's just there's a faster way. There's a more direct way. And if you just consider for a second, so just on that, this energetic detox that you're on, let's keep going for a moment. So if you're on that, well then have the awareness that, okay, there's a faster way. There's a more direct way. If I'm willing to allow it, I can have it. Like, okay, so truth is whole, truth is perfect. The thought system of truth, that's sanity. The thought, like if I'm going to think in line with truth, well, that'd be sane. That would be right thinking. That would be sanity. That makes sense. The thought system of the ego, the thought system of the lower level of mind, and again, only truth is true. So the thought system of truth would be what is true, and that would be sanity. Only truth is true, so all else would be the other. It would be the insanity. So that thought system of the lower level of mind of the ego is wholly and completely insane. There's not an ounce of sanity anywhere in that thought system, but it's logical. And if you've committed to the logic, it makes sense to you because it seems logical. So you're going, oh, that makes sense, and you follow it. But then it has the outcome of sickness and loss and pain and grief and sadness and scarcity and all these other things as well. But you just accept those as normal because you don't see another option. The other option is beyond awareness. But if we just look at it and say, okay, so if truth is sane, that's where sanity would exist in the thought system of truth. And the only way I can get there is by letting go of all my decisions, because all the decisions that I've made must be wrong, because relative to what's actually true in the universe, yeah, from my little partial awareness, that those decisions are going to be wrong. So they don't serve me. So I'll just let those go. I can't intellectually understand my way there. So I'll let myself just sit here, be peaceful and allow and go with. And then what would I need? Would there be any need for me to dive into the stories? Would there be any need for me to dive into the negative emotions? Would there be any need for me to dive into the pain and try and figure it out? I need to learn from the pain. I need to learn from the stories. I've got to feel it to heal it. I've got to do all these things that we've been taught. Like, all of that was made from insanity. All of that was made from the thought system of insanity. It's impossible that the answers for sanity exist in the thought system of insanity. Like, all of those systems are diving into the insanity and rooting around in the pain and the suffering, hoping to find the keys that unlock sanity. We don't need to, we can just go to sanity. We don't need to go and suffer through all of that. We could simply say, okay, well, healing is limitless. The true self is limitless. There are no limitations in healing. That means I couldn't be limited to just this one process. There must be another way. Got free will, welcome to go and do it. You're allowed to, but as you kind of just having the awareness, like, there's a more direct way. There's a faster way. We could just do that.
Absolutely. And I
Just
think
do that.
we're in a time and space now where everything is moving much quicker too. It can't be helped. You know, it's like we are moving at a fast pace, much faster than even 5 or 10 years ago, where, you know, we're learning things very quickly and clearing things very quickly. So I'm loving, you know, hearing you talk like that, because it's like, yeah, you just need to keep shutting the doors and open new ones.
And you mentioned briefly, or not briefly, the beautiful sharing the scarcity mindset as a part of that. Would you mind just leaning into that a little bit? Because I know what you just shared also, it's a part of the insanity, but it's kind of also like a big subject for the collective as much as the victimhood. I know it's tied into victimhood, but it's like how the collective is functioning within the programs and the learning. We're functioning in a state of scarcity constantly without even realizing it. And it's, quite a big program to disrupt, isn't it?
Well, let's look at it from in that. If you look at it that way, let's look at it from the awareness of, or from the perspective, we call it the quote unquote positive, right? Because again, when you say scarcity, people go, "Oh, I'm in scarcity mindset. Yeah, it's a negative. I really want to dissolve that, like, because it's held me back and it hasn't given me the greatest experience of life, and I just don't seem to be able to get past it. And it's generational, you know. It's like it's been in my family and for generations, and
so many decisions in there.
yeah, right. So, but rather than, again, what did we just say? Okay, we don't need to dive into the quote unquote negative. We don't need to feel it. We don't need to go back into the scarcity, feel it, find all the moments where I lived it and it was awful and I cried and I, was in the have not. And we don't need to do that. What if we just pause for a second and look at your desires? Like, look at the things that you've decided are really good. Look at the things that you've decided are really great, because again, these will be the things that you've projected will give you the safety or give you the wholeness, give you the fulfillment decided that you need. But where have those desires come from? Those desires, well, they're things that you recognize. So they must, at least in some way, they have to have come from that data bank of memory and experience. They might not be something that you've specifically experienced, but it could be 10 different things that you've experienced all meshed together into what appears to be a much greater picture. And so you look and go, oh, yes, I want that. Yes, it's the lovely house and there's water unfolding out in front. I've got a beautiful relationship and I've got children. I've got a good job and there's money in the bank. And you know what? Yeah, that would be perfect. What would be better than that? That would be amazing. Like, that picture seems incredible to me. But all of that has come from that data bank of memory and experience. It can't possibly, as memory and experience is limited, it can't possibly be the limitless thing that the universe or truth wants to offer me. So it's one little thing. Essentially what you're looking at is one little thing. And it's like saying, because in the context or in the awareness of your soul, well, your soul knows that you're given everything. You exist in oneness. You exist in oneness with everything, which means you have everything. So your soul wants everything, not in a greedy sense. It wants everything because it's given everything. So it doesn't want anything less than everything because that's what it's given. But then you've said, no. Why would I want everything when I can have this little thing? Yeah. No. I don't want, just take that away. I could just have this beautiful little shiny thing. I could have that. And then you've fixated on it and you've focused on it and you're saying, like, I'm just working so hard to get that, and it resists. But if the universe doesn't want to give you that, because by you fixating and focusing on this and saying, yes, when I get there, I've made it, I've got it. And because you then get there and then you're going to make that decision that, yes, this is my highest state. I've done it. I've achieved my goal. And your universe looks and goes, well, then that would just block you.
Yeah.
That would block you. That would limit you. So no, we're not going to go and give you that, because if we give you that, you'll just commit to this littleness that you are not. So you know what? I'm just going to hold that back, and you're not going to get it until you're willing to say, no, not the thing that I've consciously decided I want, the thing that I actually want in truth, whatever that is, whatever the highest, truest desire is, well, then that's what I want. But for as long as you're focused on that little thing, well, you're focusing on it in two ways. You're focusing on, well, I need that because I'm in the scarcity. I'm trying to get safe and get free from the scarcity that I've been in. But on a deeper level, you also have the awareness of, well, I'm going to get this, and that's actually so much less than everything. Like, it's actually something like I'm still existing in scarcity. Even when I get the thing that I've decided that I want, it's still scarcity. So you're not setting yourself free from that. So you would need to kind of go at that soul level, or at that level of as truth understands it. And like, if you set yourself up and go from that, from a limitless desire, well, then you've already been healing scarcity just by committing to the limitless desire rather than the limited desire.
Ah, beautiful. That was very, very,
yes.
very powerful.
Yeah, said.
Yeah, clear.
I'm actually starting to become aware of that feeling of limit, of feeling the limit in myself in different scenarios, like going, whoa, like I can literally viscerally feel it in my body. And I think my belief is that it comes from experience. And so it's letting go of any experience that I've ever had in any area to open up the limit that I have on myself to create the limitless. I love watching a lot of NDEs and near-death experiences. And the one thing they all say is that we have never experienced love to the capacity that it's available, because we have a limit on us, or our belief or our experience of love just goes nowhere near the true experience of, what it feels like to be loved and to the amount of love that we have inside of us. So I feel like that's the same area that you're talking about. It's like, we have to really believe in ourselves that there's no limit. I mean, it's so easy for me to sit here and say that, but it's like there really is no limit to, what we can create, what we can feel, and the love that we have for all and everything.
There's always more love. There's always more love. Love is extension. So there's no end. There's always more. You think you've had this incredible experience, there's more. Yeah. You think you've come to this incredible awakening, enlightenment thing, you felt something more amazing than you've ever felt, there's still more. Yeah. Like, you think you've gone into a collective and you've done it with other people, they've done the same thing, dissolved all the limiting beliefs. Oh my God, it was something unbelievable. There's still more.
Yeah.
Like, and because the instant that you say, like, yes, that's it, I've found it, well, you just put a ceiling on it.
Yeah.
You just put a ceiling on it. So if you're willing to make no decisions and just allow, then you can continue unfolding, you can continue in that extension. And that's what your soul's here to do. Like you are extension. Your soul wants and has this purpose of continuing that extension. So any decision that would block extension would then be just blocking everything that you want. There's a course that I teach, called A Course in Freedom, and we were doing a class on that this morning. And one of the girls in that, she's now been through the course a couple of times, and you've got these people that have come to these higher levels of awareness. And in between a couple of lessons, she just asked a question, and she just said, I've been playing with this. She said, I think this is really true. And it was wonderful. It was a beautiful awareness. You have these amazing bits and pieces of awareness that people have come into just because they've been following this process to truth. And she was describing, she's saying, I've been playing with this. And it seems really true. And it seems like something that in humanity and society, it's just maybe not frowned upon, but it's shut down. It's kind of stomped upon, and like parents do it to kids and the world does it to you. But she said, I've been playing with imagination. And I really think like that is our creative power. Like it's whatever we are that powerful that if we can truly, truly imagine, we can bring it into being. And long story short, we were just talking about it. Yes, it's exactly that. Your imagination is the power of creation, but it's used truly, not when you use it as your small separate self. And I'm just going to imagine again from that data bank of memory and experience. Well, I'm just doing it my own unique way, which is limited because I see myself as small and separate from the rest of the universe. if you do it truly and call that higher power, whatever you want to call it source, call it God, call it consciousness, universe, spirit, call it whatever you want, call it the creator, whatever you want to call it. But when you use your imagination in harmony with universal will, universal mind, divine universal mind, then that creative power, like the entire universe, is the imagination of that higher power. So if you were to will truly, which is to say, just come into harmony and go with that, you are an extension of that. So what it wants is what you want. What you want is what it wants. It knows what's truly perfect for you. It's not for you to figure out. It already knows. If you're willing to say, I'll get out of the way and I'll just accept, I'll go with, well, it's already trying to give you all of that. So if you allow your imagination to go in harmony with that, well, then you just unfold this amazing creation. And what we were discussing this morning is this woman was saying, like, I've been playing with this. And, if I just decide to imagine something bad, just to play with it, I'm just going to, let's imagine something really bad. And it's just like, it literally happens. Yeah. I'll create the negativity, I'll create the conflict, I'll create this. And it's like, but now she's at a stage where, she's able to say, and I was able to articulate for her, it's like, she's completely non-attached to it because she sees it and she's like, okay, I can laugh at that. Like, I completely made that. Yep, that was me. It has no effect because I know that I'm the one that made it. So, okay, I wouldn't actually enjoy that. I don't have to believe in it. So I'm not feeling the emotions of it, but it's not really what I want. So let's swipe that one. Let's start again. Let's go back to a new imagination. I've tested this. And so everyone's doing that all the time. That's what you're doing when you make the sadness, when you make the pain, make the sickness. It's you that's creating it because it's those unconscious desires that you're not even aware of that is creating the outside picture of everything you're experiencing. When you become aware of it, well, you then don't invest the emotional attachment. You don't feel the, oh my God, it's gone so wrong and there's no, why is my life falling apart? And you have belief in it. You've made that your reality. This woman's describing this. She's like, I can do that just for fun, just to test it. It's not really what I want. So once I recognize I can do it, it hasn't affected me. So I sweep it away and I just start again and I go back to perfection. And she's now like, so, okay, I recognize it's a thing. I recognize it works. Now I'll just go and do it how I really want to do it. And she's like, I've tested it both ways. And it's like, okay, well, I'll take the reality that I would ideally choose over the one that the negative one, but I just recognize like, I'm the one that's making it. And when you recognize you're the one that's making it, well, then if something doesn't feel amazing, you're not emotionally invested in it. You see through the illusion of the triggers. You see through the illusion of all the emotions and pain and suffering. And you can just go, no, I can laugh at this. It's not what I want. Let's just go to the real true thing that I do want.
We call that everything's happening for me. Not to
Yeah.
Look, we are moving on.
I just want to ask in that space before we move on, have you noticed in this process of people moving into their truth and playing with their imagination processes, changes within their physical being, like being an athlete and being like finely tuned and aware of your physical body and working with people in this space for many years, now working with the brain and the process of truth as the truth, do you notice that then starts to amplify out through their beingness?
100%. Absolutely. And so, and you see it at all levels. So the thing that I've always said to people, if you come in to work with me, I always say, look, people say, what do we need? What do I need to be able to work with you? And so look, if you've got a brain, we can definitely do something with you. And so, and I always said, they've got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful individual who's had like half her brain removed. And just what we've seen from her, like what the change I've seen in her have been incredible. She was told she'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And, she lives on her own, she works, she's, maintains relationships and just, she can run and it's amazing what she can do. But I see that from people like with physical conditions dissolving. We've seen vision restored, we've seen sickness healed, we've seen, different diseases disappear. But I've even, see it with athletes and whatnot as well. I've shared with a lot of people in the different groups that I work with, my young son, that, as I said, I did this whole thing being an athlete for the longest time and I worked really, really hard on it, and I did that full human understanding of that dualistic pursuit and did all the suffering, did all the pain, just as I described with the flexibility and whatnot. And then I've got my son who's come along and he's got this same level of talent that's kind of been run right through the family, but he's kind of chosen the parents now that's going to give him the opportunity to unfold it. And he's only 13, but I mean, look, he's got state records, Australian records, world records, got national titles, and he's just, and he's walked his own path of building fears and then having to dissolve them. He's built fears and then it's like it all just falls away. He can't actually, when he's in that lower level of mind, he just can't perform, can't be his best self, can't even win. and then all of a sudden when he's just not focusing on the winning, not focusing on the dualistic pursuit, just focusing on the joy, the thing that he loves, which is just running fast, just go run fast. And I love it. And he's like, he does that and he'll go and run Australian records and win national titles and whatnot by not trying to be the best, not trying to beat the other guy, just trying to be himself. And it's like, and that's the thing. That's the thing for everyone. It's just be you, be your authentic self.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
We call them in our house fractals. When you've got the parents that have been walking path, and then you have the child that walks nearly the identical path, but they're getting an opportunity to spread the fractal a different way. It's how beautiful for you to observe that too. And
Oh, it is. It's so beautiful. And you look at it as a parent, you say, I wouldn't do it any other way. As much as I craved and wanted for that joy as the athlete and just thought it was going to give me everything, I'm here now with my son and go, you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. This is amazing.
Yeah, you're both getting to explore that together.
So that kind of leads a little bit into one of our questions is, what have you had to give up? Is that people or things? But it sounds like it's a lot around basically just the beliefs.
Well, it's a beautiful thing. It's a great question because it's something that everybody's got to come to, because people cling to the story. They cling to the old life. And I'll share for you how I came into this awareness of going with the universe's perfect plan. And I always tell the story of saying it's like the last argument I ever lost with myself about the universe's perfect plan. And it was like, because I was seeing it and it was coming up in healing when giving people this awareness of, universe's perfect plan. This is what you need to do. This is what's unfolding for you. This is where life wants to go. Go with. But I hadn't really allowed it in myself. I was just seeing the benefits in others. And I was driving home from work one day. I was in traffic and I was sitting there arguing and going like, are you going to do it? This universe's perfect plan thing? Are you going to go with, or are you still going to keep trying to figure it out? And I was wrestling with it. And it just came down to this insane thought of, but what are you going to miss out on? I mean, and what's the universe's perfect plan going to ask you to do? What if it asks you to do something you don't want to do? Like, I'm thinking, is it going to ask me to go and knock on doors and be an evangelist? I don't want to do that. Like, is it going to, no judgment, nothing wrong with that, but it just didn't feel like it was going to resonate with me. So I was like, what if it asks me to do something I don't want to do? And then I paused and thought, like, really? Like, this is your whole thinking. This is the one thing that's holding you back. And I remember pausing and having the awareness, like, okay, there's 70 plus trillion cells in the human body. Every single one of those cells has consciousness. It means every single one of those cells holds a purpose. And that divine intelligence knows you to that level. It knows the consciousness of everything in you, and it knows the purpose of everything in you, and it has a way of lighting you up and giving you exactly what you need so that you are satisfied and fulfilled at every single level of your being. And I'm sitting there thinking, so there's this divine intelligence that knows how to do that. Knows how to give you not just what you want, but what you actually truly want at a level beyond what you see, beyond what you know. It knows how to do that for you. It's knocking on the door, trying to do that for you right now. And you're sitting here going, what if I come up with something better? I mean, really? And that was it. It was just realized, like, I remember saying the words to myself, you pelican, like, honestly, like, this is what's stopping you from going forward. Like, you with your teeny tiny little conscious mind, you think you're going to come up with something better. Okay, that's it. I mean, let's go. I'll let go and we'll just go with. And it's like life just got so much easier right from that moment. Everything just got easier just from going with and just allowing. So, and it's literally that. It's knowing that if truth is true, and again, I keep coming back to it because it is the hardest lesson you ever learn. So if truth is true, only that which is true can be real, and what is real exists. Anything that is not truth is simply something else. And that something else is illusion because it's the only other thing. So if it's illusion, it's unreal. If it's unreal, it doesn't exist, which means it's not something, it's nothing. So what are you being asked to give up? You're being asked to give up nothing. It's like, that's actually pretty easy. And again, it's a huge thing I teach this a lot. It comes up a lot because, again, in that ego's thought system where there's insanity, there's all these things that have been made really beautiful to get you to commit to them, and then you're participating in keeping yourself stuck. And one of them is surrender. It's like, I've got to surrender. And it sounds so beautiful. I'm going to surrender to this. I've got to surrender to that. But for you to surrender something is to give up something. And if you're believing you have to give up something, well then, like, push and pull, and do I want to, was it worth it? I'm weighing it up, got my decisions. But what if all you're asked to surrender is nothing? I can surrender nothing. I can do that right now. oh, okay, let's surrender nothing. Let's do that. And I can go with. And it's like, now there's no loss. And that's the thing at that high level of mind, in the true self, in the universe as it exists in truth, there is no loss. There's no loss. There's only gain. And
Yeah.
when you give up that old thought system, you just enter into the gain. And then that's what you end up having.
I love that.
So there's a bit of word allow.
Yeah, I use it. And again, that's one of those. So again, just like we said before, that word allow showed up for me years ago and I didn't know why, but it was just so prominent and it just kept coming up. Just allow, 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 allow. I don't know why, I don't get it, but I'll go with, okay, I'll just allow. That's what it seems to be. Yeah, allow what is. And then at some point, it's like, oh, it landed. What was previously beyond comprehension, you're at that place and you've lived it, you now understand it.
I love that. I love that. Okay, we're going to get down to the last few questions because it's gone so quickly.
Yeah,
It always does when we're having fun.
so far.
Oh my goodness, yeah. What do you do now, Scott, to support yourself in staying in the moment and staying in the bliss and in that area of nothingness?
Of allowing.
Yeah.
So it's letting go, but it's just being present. So it's just come back to being present. Everything you want exists in the present moment. Truth can be found now. Healing can be found now. The only time you could get to your best self is now, because you are never any other time other than now. Your entire life happens no other time other than now. It means heaven must be now.
Yeah.
Like it couldn't be any other time.
Yeah.
Are you just telling yourself that? How does it look for you physically? Like, is it just a thing where you're just saying, okay, I've only got now, and just really like physically bringing yourself back into that moment?
Well, again, understand it from the awareness of how people keep themselves stuck. So many people say, "Oh, I couldn't do healing. I couldn't do this process, or I couldn't do the vision thing, the intuition thing. I don't get that. I don't get that." And it's all decisions. They're without realizing they're blocking it just by saying that. Words are not descriptive; they're creative. By saying, "I don't get that," you're creating that block and making sure you don't get it. And so within that, so many people infatuate with a high sense perception or an incredible intuition or a feeling state or some mystical state or awareness they've gotten to, and you don't need any of that. It's just will.
Yeah.
It's just will. So instead of saying, oh, present moment awareness is, I need to feel something and I've got to get to this state, and it's because I've meditated for 20 years, so you couldn't get it, but I can because I've done that. No, I don't need to do any of that. It's just literally saying, okay, to be truly present would mean there's no information from the past or influence, no information from the future or influence. There's no past, there's no future, there's only now. So I'm going to say no past, no future, no information, no influence from either. I will to be now. Oh, now for me, I'm back. I'm there just doing that. But as soon as a thought comes up, well, where's that thought coming from? Oh, wait a minute. It's a thought about a limitation. Well, that must be past.
Yeah.
Oh, but I just said no past. Okay, so that means that thought is now nothing more than a distraction. Thank you. No, thank you. And universe is perfect. So you're perfect little thought, but you can just go sit here in the corner. I'm going to come back to being present.
Yeah.
And just had a fear. I'm fearing it's not going to work out. Wait a minute. But I just said no future, and all fear comes from future. So that wouldn't count either. Okay, thank you. Universe is perfect. You're perfect. Off you go over there, little fear. You can sit over there. I'm just going to be present. Thank you. No, thank you. It's just a distraction. And you can just be in that. Just thank you. No, thank you. It's such a simple thing, and just come back to present.
The simple thing, yeah.
It's the self-communication, the
Yeah.
self-dialogue that you're mastering is in the process of being in the now.
Yeah, it's really simple. But again, come back to what higher reason would tell you. Higher reason would tell you truth is simple.
Yeah.
It's really simple. You're not going to need to try and find some amazing state of being to get there. Like it's eternal.
Yeah.
It's available in every moment and every aspect of space and time. So it must be available now. You must be able to connect with it. If you say that you can't, well, that's you putting the command out there, and words are creative. You're creating that reality where you can't. You will make yourself right. You're that powerful. But if you simply say, you know what? I'm not going to make any decisions. I'm not going to say that I can or I can't. You know what? I'll just allow whatever's true to be true. I'll do that. And I'll be present. So whatever's true is true. I am whatever I am in truth, not my decisions, just whatever I actually turn out to be in truth. And there's no past and there's no future. I'm just going to be now. Oh, and peace is the guide to truth. So as soon as you do that, you feel, oh wow, there's that peace. That's the guide. I'm on track. Oh, so I'm actually doing it right. Amazing. Perfect. Oh, let's do it again. And now you're on that path, and now new awareness can come and new choices open up, because straight away you're in new perception. So you're seeing options that didn't exist for you just a moment earlier, and all of a sudden life looks different.
So beautiful.
that opens up so much. And we've got one more question, but before we ask that, and just reflect back on your beautiful client with the loss of the brain. I heard recently a story about a young girl who had a brain scan at around 18, 19, because she had a little accident. They just wanted to check she had no concussion. And they discovered she didn't actually have a brain. She only had a brain stem. And she was high functioning, had been socially, could not have imagined that she had no brain. And it asks the question of like, where does our consciousness, where does the functioning actually come from, isn't it? And when you talk around those trillion cells, they're each having their own individual consciousness. And the person who was sharing the story believes in our waters having a divine consciousness as well. It asks the question, like, when we're talking in this space of peace being the conduit to truth, if we're in that harmonious resonance within our body, we're able to just allow that flow to create like a type of vortex, isn't it, of constant peace, constant nowness.
Yeah, you're allowing. Yeah, you're allowing it. It's like that thing when we step back, and of course, from our perception, what we understand perceptually in humanity, oh, well, brain's the control center. Brain's that does everything. We've evidenced it medically, scientifically. We've seen it. We've got all the proof. We've got all the studies, and we can see what brain does. So we know. We absolutely know. But that's a decision. What if we let go of the decision? If we completely let go of the decision? Now, this person had just gone and shown it to themselves by not having a brain and not finding out about it till later. But I would speculate that if it was a regular person, you took their brain away, they would either die or enter into some really, really reduced state of being. And that's the same thing. So with this individual that I've got, by making no decisions, when we just say, you know what, let's let consciousness, let it intelligence, let function, let's let everything be whatever it actually turns out to be in truth. We'll allow it to be however it truly wants to be. So many different processes have opened up in healing just through working with her. And the level and the depth of letting go of the limitations has been really constant, really, really constant, because she's gone through this whole medical process where she's been told over and over and over again, oh, you won't be able to do this again. Oh, you won't be able to do that. You're only going to go so far. You're like, this is, keep your hopes down. Don't get excited because, and so many of those she's just had to just dissolve one after the other, dissolve one after the other, dissolve. And even when things are going well, she'll still get kind of that because you're dealing with belief systems. So again, no decisions around it. It is whatever it is. When we first started working together, I had a vision, don't know where it came from, but I had a vision of like an energetic template of a brain in the side of her, in where the missing hemisphere was. And it was like, okay, well, if that's true, no decisions, but if that's in any way true and that's what we're doing, then great, I'm open. Let's do it. Let's follow the process, do whatever we're doing, and we'll let it unfold. She has gone and had scans, and there was one scan she went and had where the people in the room, and one woman in particular sort of looked and went like, this can't be right. Like, it literally looks like this right side of your brain is growing back. No, that can't be right. Anyway, all right, we'll move on. And it's like too much to. Yeah, she's like, but anyway, the stuff that we're looking on the other side looks fine. Everything is good. That's fine. But I'm not sure what that is. But anyway, that's good. Let's move on.
Yeah, we'll just let go of the miracle.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's because, and again, just like we said with that neuro flexibility thing, like that challenges my reality. It's too much. I can't deal with it. So I either need to dismiss it.
Yeah.
Professionally, I can't ridicule it and tear it down because that's not what I'm here to help. So that doesn't work. But if that was true, like what would I then be doing as a job? I wouldn't even know how to, like, whoa, it's too much. Let's just, dismiss that, move on. And so many times people do that without realizing, and you miss the miracle. You can only have as much of the miracle as you are willing to receive. And you need to be open for that.
Beautiful.
So beautifully said.
Yeah.
Okay, so our last question, we've been talking a lot about body and going within. This one's more externally. So how do you see the world right now? And what do you see next happening for us on the planet?
So I just see peace. I see peace, I see love, I see harmony, I see oneness. That's largely what I see. And I'll just share. So again, I come from a family where my mother is African American, got all this slave heritage and roots and everything. And so for her, when the current president of the United States got voted in the first time, that was hugely triggering, and she was so upset, and she's on social media all the time, and she's, like putting all this information out about why you shouldn't vote for that person. And to a degree, I was at that point, I was kind of sucked into it. I was kind of realizing this is not really where I want to be. It's not what I want to see. It's not, no, it doesn't feel right, but I'm kind of getting pulled along with it. And so many people around me were kind of wrapped up in that as well. And this time where it's come back around, it was so funny for me. The awareness of like, just kind of feels like I see peace, I see the love, I see that light in people, but it feels like, as the universe will always do, if the universe gives you a lesson, you don't learn the lesson, well, you'll just keep getting the lesson. It's like, it just feels like we're just back, learn the lesson again. We haven't learned whatever we're meant to learn. So, okay, we're back in that same situation again. And I just look at it now and it's like, there's nothing that destabilizes, upsets me. There's nothing that pulls me off. I just have that peace, and it's the awareness. Like I could just see love in everyone in that, like everyone in the world as I see it, and it's a beautiful, amazing place to be. But what it is, it's exactly the same thing we talked about. It's that awareness that was always there that I couldn't have comprehended, but then I lived it and lived in it. And through living in it, you get to understand it, and now you can explain it. And it is the awareness that you are responsible for what you perceive. Because exactly what we said before, perception is projection. It's a projection of your belief system being projected out onto the world. It's what you're making. And so you're seeing what you believe, and you only believe what you want. So if you actually allow your true desires to go out there, well, you begin to see that. So I get to see the healing. It's like if I see people who are in an emotional reaction, if I see people who are experiencing pain or experiencing loss, and that loss and that pain is absolutely 100% real to them, and not dismissing it in any way, but I can see the good that comes of that. I can see the healing that comes of that. I can see how that brings people together. I can see how it changes the world as a result of those awakenings. And I see that. And now I've got something to offer. Because I just see that light, if someone who is in a level of stuckedness or sadness wants to, I can offer that. I don't have to go and cry with them over it, because as soon as any idea that you share, you enter into cause and effect. When you share an idea across mind, that idea is increased. No thought can ever leave the mind of the thinker. So if I have an idea of peace and I can give that to you, it's still my idea. It's still here, but now it's in your mind as well, which means it's there at the same time. And as soon as we enter into that sharing, you create cause in the middle. So if I share peace and we create cause in peace, well, cause and effect go hand in hand. You instantly begin to get the effects of peace, as do I. It's increased. So what do I want to give? If everybody's upset about the state of the world and is crying and hurt and just seeing the pain and the suffering, and then via that, again, ego sees empathy the way humanity does it as really valuable and beautiful, but it does it in an upside down sense where, oh, there's pain, there's hurt, there's suffering, there's sadness. And the way that you see that you can be valuable and help is enter into that same sadness and misery and cry it out with the people and really let them know that you feel the pain and that you're there with them. But you've just created cause and effect in more misery, more suffering, which means you've built it up, made it more real, and it's now a lot harder to dissolve. But what if you don't have to reject it? You don't have to push it away. Like, yes, that person is absolutely experiencing what they're experiencing, but I just see light.
Yeah.
I just see love. And I'm not rejecting, not pushing away what you're experiencing, but I'm just going to offer you my love and light. I don't have to respond to the misery. I can withhold my acceptance of that. I can offer the light, the love, the peace that I see. And if you want to accept it, hey, you're going to change the world instantly and you'll have that. And so that's largely what I see, because that's what I want to offer. You indicate your willingness to receive by what you share. And so that's what I want to share and give away. That's why I share and give that away. That's what I'm willing to receive more of.
Beautiful. We call that staying in our own lane. As in, you just staying in your strong, powerful, peaceful, loving lane, and share that from there. Not getting caught up in all the traffic jams that are going on around you and everywhere. Just staying in your own lane.
Yeah, it is. And it's like just exactly that. If you look at it that way and you say, well, that's kind of what truth does. Truth is perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't argue. It doesn't debate. You can have a war against truth, and you can say that you see that in the world, but truth doesn't respond. It's just going to keep sailing along perfectly and being perfectly peaceful and perfect. And if you're willing to go with, you can have it.
Yeah, you can have it.
That's a beautiful way to close off this wonderful podcast.
Thank
Look,
you.
to
It's
be
been
honest,
very dynamic.
we've never had any conversations quite like this. So thank you so much for being you and for stepping into this space that you've stepped into. It's really beautiful and so needed.
I'm, as I said, I'm so grateful for both of you, and hopefully we're a lot closer to that full understanding, that full unfoldment of the understanding of the gratitude now. But I'm so grateful for both of you, and thank you so much for inviting me in and giving us the opportunity to unfold what we've unfolded.
Yeah.
Amazing, Scott.
We'll pop all of your links and website and everything for our listeners. And if anyone wants to jump on board and do a course or have a session or any of those wonderful things with Scott, we'll be in the show notes.
Have you got anything that's upcoming that you'd just like to actually verbalize now that's on your
Yeah, so look, A Course in Freedom is that path that will set you free. So like the one-on-one healings and stuff that I do with people have been amazing, and they've been such an incredible vehicle for my learning and healing illusion and sadness and sickness and whatnot in the world. But that learning in A Course in Freedom it really is the path. It's quite amazing. All of it, said everything that I do in those things, it's just received from knowledge. It's received from that infinite truth. And it's the beautiful thing I love saying to people is that none of it's my work. Everyone calls it my work. None of it's my work. It's like I've done my best to take my hands off, so it's not my work. It just gets to be that perfect thing, and then you just get to experience that. So, yeah, if you feel called to that, then yeah, A Course in Freedom kind of is that path. It'll give you everything that we've kind of talked about today.
Hey, beautiful. You just actually kind of like put a light on, because I kept getting little feelers of A Course in Miracles, but where you're coming from is like it's the same, literally the same light, the same love, your download of all this and your purpose in sharing this through A Course in Freedom. And it's creating it without, I'll say, the religious aspect, because you're not talking in God word or any religious tones. You've removed any of that resistance, or you've created a bridge straight into that truth.
Just space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all comes from the same source. But you just allow, again, don't need to make any decisions about it. Just allow it to be. Just allow it to be truth. Truth will set you free. Again, truth's pretty simple. It'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Leave it at that.
So free.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you so much, love, guys. Thank you.
Spirit, she comes in my dreams.
Thank you for listening to our Girl Awakening podcast. We are also on YouTube as Girl Awakening. We'd love to see you there with comments on how our guests resonated with you or your own awakening. Please share the love with a like and subscribe while you're there. A blissful thank you to Ksenia Luki, the amazing artist behind our theme song. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.